Welcome back to all my regular subscribers. If you're new here, my name's Gabriel Varga, 6-time pro kickboxing world champion. Today, we're gonna talk about how to shadow box properly. We're gonna go through some different styles of shadow boxing, talk about why each of these styles are beneficial, but also missing elements, my favorite style of shadow boxing and why I like it so much. And we're gonna go through one of the main fundamentals of shadow boxing, which I think is so important if you wanna get everything you can out of this time throwing punches and kicks midair. Be sure to stick around to the last possible second of this video. We're gonna find out who won the Iron Man glove giveaway. So a big hole that I noticed in shadow boxing instruction is mindset. What are you thinking about when you shadow box? Are you just throwing punches and kicks and not really implementing the mindset that is required behind shadow boxing to get every little advantage out of it? Shadow boxing is a great time to work on perfecting your fight style and recreate how you want your next fight to go. For me, shadow boxing is more than just a light warm-up. It's a time to practice all the techniques I've been working on for my next fight and to make sure I can implement them when it comes to fight night. I'm gonna start shadow boxing and show you some different styles and explain why I think all the different styles are beneficial in their own way, but why the style I choose is so practical if you have a fight coming up. One of the most common shadow boxing styles you'll see, especially in the Muay Thai kickboxing world, is the slow pace shadow boxing. To me, this is fantastic if you're just starting off your session, you've done really nothing else, and you just want to start getting the body warmed up and obviously not damage yourself or injure yourself in any way. Because the pace is slower, it's also a great time for you to just think about what you're doing step by step and might be very applicable to somebody at a more of a beginner intermediate level. You can really take the time to correct and adjust technique, ensure you're working on all the elements, which include offense, defense, but for me it does lack that realistic fight pace, and that's the reason that I usually don't implement this. I prefer to skip first and have a higher pace shadow boxing session where it's just a little bit more on point with the style of a fight I'm planning on implementing. And for me, because I do like the fast paced fight, I want to implement it in my shadow boxing. Especially if you're new to the sport, shadow boxing is fantastic for trying out anything that you learned in the previous couple classes. You can clear your mind and go back to some of those classes from a few days ago where you learned certain techniques and try implementing them here. In this instance, I'm obviously working on blocking the hook and countering back. And this is something especially that I see people lacking in shadow boxing, the defense side. So if you can focus in on one element of defense and start building from there, this is a great time to get better and better at your blocking and your countering. I see many people, right up to high-level professional fighters, doing great shadow boxing. It looks fantastic. They look on fire with their speed, but just like I'm doing right here, it is all offense and you don't see much defense. And my problem with this style is you're not really recreating that fight where it's more 50-50 back and forth with offense and defense. It is, however, great for the cardio, and I still think that's an important element to shadow boxing. But be sure to stick in some defensive blocking, some head movement, just so the shadow boxing is as real and on point as it's going to be fight night. Right here is a great example of something that you'll see an intermediate fighter do more often. They're going to be working on defense and then offense, and then usually back to defense and offense, but they're not really mixing the two together in a realistic form where you give a punch or two and then need to block and then want to counter back and then might need to block or move off again. This style is good, but it's not, in my mind, as advanced as it could be because I'm just going from one style to the other and not really flowing between offense and defense as I should. But if you're a beginner intermediate fighter, try to shadow box like this and work up eventually to this next stage here. This for me is exactly what I want shadow boxing to look like. It's a recreation of the fight as close as I could possibly make it without partners, whether it's for sparring or pad work. You can see I go from blocking to striking, to blocking, to striking. Sometimes my combination gets interrupted and I have to make sure I go on that defense. The pace is fast, I'm pushing my cardio, I'm using my footwork, and really I'm trying to recreate the fight here as close as I possibly could. And especially if I'm preparing for a specific opponent with little tendencies that I have to address, I can take advantage of it here and work this in the shadow boxing over and over so it starts to get ingrained in my brain. So the summary of proper shadow boxing for me is to engage your mind as much as possible and make sure you don't phase out. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you got something out of that shadow boxing episode. Try pushing the cardio in your shadow boxing like I mentioned. I think it's a great way to get the warm-up started, but to also just push that heart rate high. And remember, it's a great time to start preparing for your next fight and implement the tactics you want to utilize in that fight against a specific opponent. Until next time, keep training hard, and I'll see you guys back here again soon. Oh, and before I go, an announcement about the Ironman gloves winner. It was a crazy thing. I actually had a winner selected, sent him a couple emails. That was 2 weeks ago, still haven't heard back from him, so I had to move on to a new winner, Matthew Newton. Congratulations on winning those awesome gloves. I'll get them shipped to you soon. You guys stay tuned for another glove giveaway. I have one coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. All right guys, I'm gone for real this time. I'll see you next episode.